What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the singles off the Wisin y Yandel album Los Extraterrestres, which came out in the fall of 2007. This is the fifth album by them. It's a pretty good pitch to get this one in particular. Now, I would review this as an album, but I don't full-blown speak Espanol, so I'm going to review the singles off this particular project. But this album, Los Extraterrestres was a big deal throughout the fall between late 2007. This the rest of the late 2000s as far as that pitch can happen. It's definitely one of the bigger deal Latin rap albums as far as that pitch can happen. It's up there with Pitbull's Armando and like Don Omar's King of Kings and some of those type pitches, and a couple of Daddy Yankee albums like El Cartel, the Big Boss, and his 2008 album, some of those type pitches. Daddy Yankee's 2007 and 2008 album. So it's a pretty good pitch. This is a big deal of a project here. I wanted to get to some Wisin y Yandel because I had heard about them pitches like that, and I noticed that there weren't really any critic reviews, so I wanted to change that as far as that pitch can happen. This is a really stellar album, I have to say in particular. Now, the thing about it is there's only 3 brief singles. It's too bad that there wasn't a 4th one, something like that, to more round it out. But I'd have to say they did drop. I would have to say that they dropped the deluxe edition of this album in late 2008 with 2 extra singles. That's a pretty good pitch. I'll eventually get to that one down the road. I'd have to say it'll probably be an easier time. I would have to say it's a good concept here. Basically, in some fashion, I recommend all 3 of the singles, but this project's not going to get a 10 out of 10 because one of which of those 3 singles is an almost song. I would have to say, at least in some fashion, I recommend them. One of which tries to break for more mainstream airplay and pitches like that. It's some more commercial kind of makeshift type tone as far as that pitching goes. If the production had been a little bit better, I probably would have thoroughly enjoyed that one a lot more as far as that pitch can happen with. But yeah, this is still going to get a pretty above average type score to kind of say. But this is a good bopish type one, up there with some of the ones like folks like Pitbull, and up there with some folks like Pitbull and Daddy Yankee and Don Omar, some of those type of folks. I would definitely have to say it's a pretty stellar album just to get in particular. Do appreciate the concepts of it. It makes me question how the rest of the album kind of goes in terms of the nightclub flashiness overall bounce this particular project has. The thing about it is this album sold quite a bit. This is the top selling Latin album of 2008, so this was the big deal of a project back in the day as far as that pitch can happen. It's definitely one of the highest reggaeton selling albums, so this one's definitely a pretty good product of a project here. I do question how the deluxe edition of this particular album fared in 2008, I'd have to say, but basically we'll get towards it. So the 3 singles on here, the first single was Sexy Movimiento. Which basically means sexy movement in English. It's a pretty nice one. It's like a swirling kind of 2000s club craze of a song, I'd have to say in particular. It's like some good MySpace era dance music. I would definitely feel like this is a pretty good Kickstarter gem. This one definitely kickstarts the noise as far as pitches like that kind of happens. Like a typical kind of fanfare that you would get for like MySpace rap throughout like 2007, 2008. Just a good basic dance pop to kind of get here. Energy is not quite as ferocious as it is on like Aora S, I'd have to say, but I do like the concept. I do feel like Aora S is a little bit more vicious, I'd have to say, but I do think this one is pretty much Kickstarter type one, just a good concept. Get the initial drinks in your system, scope out the place, figure out what ladies you're going to talk to as far as that pitch can have, some of those type craze. Just the aspect of just getting to the dance club and the initial type moments is some of that, the initial kind of dap type tunes and pitches like that. This would probably be like a tune for like 7:30, 8 p.m., just initial kind of stuff like that. I do appreciate the concept of this particular one. Yeah, I feel like this one is almost like a ditch. I feel like this is almost like a ditch the workshift type tone as far as that pitch kind of has with it. It's a good concept to listen to just as the workshift's wrapping up, just getting ready to get crunk in some of those initial type moments and just getting ready to step out a bit in some of those type fares. Just the concept calling up your homies, some pitches like that, getting towards it. Really appreciate the concept. But in terms of the lyrics, I would translate on this particular song, the catchy line on this particular one, just the concept. I like the initial opening line of this particular song, part of the chorus where they say, "You've got a brutal body." That's a pretty good concept of a line to kind of say. I do appreciate the concept of that. Do you like that? Needs probably to be said. That probably needs to be said in like English songs to say, tell a chica that she has a brutal body. I would definitely say within that pitch. That's a pretty good concept for that. So that's good initial dap getting type song. The second single is Hoy Donde Está El Amor, which basically means listen, where is the love? What I have to say about this particular one. This one's kind of the more makeshift type song. It's definitely the more work-friendly SFW type one, which SFW, if you don't know, just in case you don't know that lingo, is safe for work acronym for that, just within that pitch. But this is like a refreshing kind of summer breeze with like a food for thought kind of appeal. But this is kind of an almost song for me because I just listened to the concept, just thinking of the concept of how oftenly I would really listen to this one if it were not in like more makeshift and kind of blue collar friendly type tones as far as that pitch can go. This is like a good concept. I don't know how friendly Wisin y Yandel were to like regular radio. If they were more hardcore with like their rap music and pitches like that, if they oftenly were kind of like mainstream and on the news and pitches like that, I'd have to say. But I do think the concept of at least having one that kind of broke the ice as far as that particularly kind of happened just being able to say something that's kind of more palatable for more kind of contemporary and morning and just day commerce type talk as far as that particular kind of goes, just with work friendly environments. That does say it's a nice one to kind of hear, but just really is SFW as far as that pitch kind of goes. Just doesn't have the aspect of really much turn ups, not Friday music, Saturday music, Thursday music. I'd say it's just kind of the concept that it's real blue collar type pop to kind of get. Very similar to Black Eyed Peas, Where Is the Love? Also, just within that same similar type pitch, just a kind of summer breeze type one, just kind of get just a balmy type tune, just for some of the aspect, just lightly licked guitar licks on there as far as that kind of particularly happens. Good concept, kind of see that. If you're not in blue collar type mode, it doesn't have as much kind of contemporariness about it, but it is a nice one to kind of hear if you're looking to hear something like Wisin y Yandel, but you need something for more blue collar. So it's a good concept within that relative pitch. So it's an almost song for me. But translate the lyrics on this one was just basically talking about the concept of corruption and pitches like that, this killings and senseless violence, some of those type of things, just the concept of some of that type of stuff, just kind of the standout of just taking a stand and having some of those type pitches about it. But kind of happens to be a thing. There is like an R&B singer on there, which is a pretty good pitch. But the second song I recommend on here out of three in like a full-blown fashion is Aura S, which means it's now in English. Pretty good concept for that. It's like a heavy, this particular song is like a heavier kind of steamy dance wickedness of a song, I'd have to say in particular. It's definitely like some stock club noise, I would have to say, on like a tipsy and festive kind of night. I would definitely feel like in the song overall boils. So this is the most vicious song in terms of the singles. It's definitely one where the ravenous type night pitch just gets turned up a few notches as far as that particular kind of goes. Maybe not as crazy as like Pitbull or Daddy Yankee on like some of his craziest days, but this Aura S may not be as crazy as some of Pitbull and Daddy Yankee's craziest nights as far as that pitch kind of has, but it's definitely some pretty festive type stuff to kind of get. Definitely some good tipsy type music to kind of have the initial drinks in your system. Some of those type pitches, so just the fanfare just being out and about. Definitely some social type times. I do question how the rest of the album fares in terms of that relative quality. I'd have to say there, folks are saying that it's like a 4-star out of 5 albums. So I question the relative pitch as some other hooky kind of hits that could have been on this particular product. It's a good enough concept. Single's pretty good batch, balanced batch here, but I would say in terms of lyrics translation, I'd say a good line off this particular song, Aura S, is You're the Birthday's Confetti, talking to a chica on the song, just complimenting her pitches like that. But on one part of the song, he says, You're the birthday's confetti, in terms of being the shit. Some of those type pitches just being really dope as far as that particular kind of happens. Just good compliment there to kind of get. I do like some of the lines towards ladies on this particular album, I'd have to say. So it's good enough concept. I do appreciate the concept of this particular project. Just some good stuff here to kind of get. So in terms of score, I'm going to give this particular album the 3 singles on here, me recommending 2.5 out of 3 on here. I'm going to go ahead and give this album like a 7.75 out of 10. I feel like at least in terms of singles, that's the quality behind it. I definitely think it probably needed like a 4th single to really anchor this project further as far as that pitch kind of went, as far as that pitch kind of particularly went. I feel like for that particular pitch, I feel like this is a pretty balanced project in terms of what it was trying to do just within that affability. I'd have to say it's good enough concept. The blue collar song on here is pretty relatively good within a sense of just being straightforward and makeshift, I'd have to say. And the 2 dance club songs do have some heaviness towards them and really get some booty shaking as far as that pitch is going to go. It just gets some good wild festedness, kind of gets some drinks in your system. But I just feel like for some reason, 3 singles just in particular just feels more trite than it probably should. I feel like there definitely should have been a 4th one to back this project up a little bit further. I'm pretty sure this album had other album cuts that probably could have done it as far as that particular kind of went. It just felt like a quieter type project. And as a result, it just kind of felt like maybe it just kind of came and went with the motions. I mean, this is a big deal of an album, 2007, 2008, as far as those pitches kind of happened. But I definitely look after it. It probably could have been promoted further, I'd have to say. But it was a relative big deal. So the social score, though, I'm going to give like an 8.5 out of 10. I feel like that's pretty good within the relative pitch. I'm questioning the concept whether or not it has more kind of heavier hits on here. I feel like the concept of it, this was definitely a mainstream type project, trying to get some of that widespread type appeal. Definitely did a relative successful job. I do feel like the Oi Donde Está El Amor song was definitely necessary to break like newsbound type stuff and more makeshift blue collar type fare. But I look after just being able to say that probably would have gotten a 10 had there been a 4th single to back this up a little bit more, because I do feel like you do need that kind of more homely and kind of straightforward type single just to balance things out. You know, folks like Tupac would kind of do that. Eminem would kind of do those type of songs. Some of those type folks, just more particular type folks like that. Ludacris, some of those type folks. But I just look after just being able to say I kind of feel like the impact of it's just a little bit underhanded compared to what probably could have been. This is a wicked album. I'm guessing that this is a pretty wicked album, I'd have to say, but it just didn't push this project in terms of promotion as hard as it probably should. So that's the concept of it. But in terms of future, I'm not really sure as much as to what Wisin y Yandel has been kind of up to. I want to say that they've at least dropped singles, pitches like that. They might have a song with Don Omar or something like that in recent times, I'd have to say, but I don't know what they've done in terms of album-wise type stuff. It makes me question. Eventually, I will get to like the deluxe edition of this album with those 2 extra singles and pitches like that. But this is a pretty balanced project here. It does have has some hit quality on here, has some good dance jive that really gets things rickety on like a regular weekend. Not as vicious as Daddy Yankee and Pitbull, but I would have to say it's a good look for this particular subgenre and pitch like that. Just some good overall dance club hits that get things festive and like a good balanced blue collar single on top of that. So some good stuff here.